Broadcasters' decisions over the pre-election televised debates?
No, he shouldn't. He shouldn't. But I want to just say something on the debates. Personally, I am opposed to prime ministerial debates, and I'll tell you for why. We do not vote for the Prime Minister. People here who are 18 or over vote for one of us, excluding Lord Carey, but I'm sure he'd make a magnificent MP. But I think it's wrong because it's moving us towards a presidential system, and we're not a presidential system. We are a parliamentary democracy where we elect people from a constituency to represent the constituency in Parliament. If we want to have debates of that nature, there should be 650 of them, one in each constituency, covered by the local broadcasters, similar to what's going on tonight. As someone who studied political science, it really infuriates me when they try and merge the two systems when they're completely distinct.
Interesting point on TV debates because, of course, Cameron's reasoning is that, of course, the Greens are not involved. And I'm just thinking about this evening and the number of people that are on the panel, and you can almost understand why Question Time does often only have 4 guests, because I think we're all trying to get a word in edgeways as best we can. Should the Prime Minister be allowed to influence? Well, I mean, technically he didn't, because Ofcom came out and deemed, sorry Mandy, the Greens not to be a sort of a political party of enough weight to warrant their inclusion in it. And of course, I don't believe that David Cameron is a crusader for the Green Party in general. I think he may have been using it as a good excuse to get out of it. Ultimately, of course, every Prime Minister doesn't want a debate, and every leader of the opposition does, because it gives them the opportunity to sock it to the guy in charge.
Okay, there's a few things that I want to add to this. First of all, today's decision that we will be included in the debates is we're thrilled about, and I think across the British public there is lots of gratitude about that as well. The recent Green surge we've seen in the last couple of weeks, 13,000 new members in 1 week, signatures to petitions asking that we be included. And I think that's to the credit of the British public who believe in a democratic process. If there are more than 2 parties, 3 parties to choose from, surely everybody has the right to see exactly what all those parties stand for. Why should we be assuming that it is just a 2 or 3 horse race or 4 horse race? Successfully in Sweden recently in their last elections, they had, I believe, 15 people in their leadership debates covering all of the parties and managed the process quite successfully. So that's testament that it can be done, so why shouldn't it be done here? I think it's really, really important that everybody gets the opportunity to see what all parties stand for and have to say.
I have a completely disreputable history with the TV debates because you'll be shocked to hear that all parties rehearse them. And I played Gordon Brown in all the rehearsals for David Cameron for the debates last time. I don't want to blow my own trumpet unnecessarily. I didn't do the accent. There was a terrible stage for the first 2 weeks of the campaign. I knew every last detail of Labour policy, and occasionally, when I was speaking at a public meeting during the campaign, something would come into my mind, and I'd think, I hope that's our policy and not Labour policy. But my great claim is that in all the measurements of the debates, Gordon Brown lost. And in the last debate, the guy from the Obama campaign that it's compulsory for everyone to have said that David Cameron and I had drawn, and that wasn't good enough for him. So I did better as Gordon Brown than Gordon Brown did as Gordon Brown in the debates. However, I think I have a degree of sympathy actually with Brendon's point that if you have a parliamentary system, then trying to spatchcock onto it presidential debates is was fantastic for the broadcasters, which is why there was all this demand for it, but not necessarily great for parliamentary democracy. And they were hugely watched. They absolutely dominated the last election campaign. I can remember fighting it, and literally once a week, that was the only thing people cared about. And they did get huge audiences. So from that point of view, actually engaging people with politics, they worked well. Did they have much effect on the election? No. The great winner of the debates, before Chris says it, was Nick Clegg. Nick Clegg clearly did brilliantly, particularly in the first debate, and Clegg mania happened and all of that. At the start of that election campaign, the Liberal Democrat poll rating was 23%. The Liberal Democrat result in the election was 23%. It did them no good at all. So I think, and the problem now is, and I'm glad we managed to get the Greens on, as Mandy says, they're now in the pile. But of course that means the DUP have to come, that means the SNP have to come, and so we're in danger not only of having the world's most boring TV programme, where you have 9 politicians all having to have the same amount of time, and there won't be any engagement or debate. Even worse, quite a lot of them will be parties that you've got no chance of voting for. You can be impressed as you like in Ashford by whoever the SNP, presumably Alex Salmond, put up, or Peter Robinson for the DUP, but you can't vote for them, so that suggests to me it's not going to be a brilliant process. So I'm afraid that the one go of the election debates that we had in 2010, even if we have them again, will prove to be the only one that's actually representative of a national election.
Thank you, Damian. Just a reminder, if you do have any questions throughout the evening, please do put your hand up and we'll come to you. Mr. Thompson again.
I promise this will be the last video. I promise this will be the last. I just wanted to say 2 things, if I may. Firstly, to the audience, and especially the sixth formers, I know you're opinionated. I know you've got opinions because I hear them quite a lot. But you're acting a little bit starstruck. So I encourage you, please, to challenge what the panel are saying. I'd like to challenge something that both Brendon and Damian said. You said that we don't have presidential debates and that they're not necessarily a good idea because we don't have a presidential system. Actually, don't you think that because party policy is so tightly controlled and every politician, if they step a millimetre off the script, are told off and sacked on occasion by their parties, actually there is only really one party line, and it does go up to the person at the top. Therefore, it's totally reasonable to have those debates.
No. There's too much love in this room tonight. I can see where you're coming from entirely, because policy, although there is, certainly in the Labour Party, there's a process whereby which policy is fed up and then it's determined. The leader is really at the forefront of the campaign. You know, everything, it's democratic. Yes. Anyway, the point I'd make to that is, of course, there are always going to be differences. I mean, for example, my official party line on a referendum on our membership of the European Union is that, I'll remember it now, we'll only have one if there's a treaty change involving the transfer of power. My own view is we should have one anyway, and seek reforms in Europe. It's quite similar.
Which is our policy.
It is.
Very good.
Yeah, but hang on, David Cameron now wants everyone to have a decent wage, which is our policy. But the point is this, I just think we have got a parliament, a mother of parliaments, we have constituencies. No one in this room can vote for David Cameron. No one in this room can vote for Ed Miliband, as much as you all might want to. But you can't. So I think to myself, we should be going locally. The idea of a parliament is the person represents the constituency in the House of Commons, and you can all throw them out at the next election if you don't agree. So why are we having a debate about David Cameron, who represents Witney, against Ed Miliband, that represents Doncaster, neither of whose constituents can vote against each other? So I just think we need to go back to the proper traditions of this country's democracy and, have it as we're having it now. I actually think we should have an Ashford candidates public debate. The KM could chair it or something like that. Question time, but for all of Ashford. I'd be open to it.
These are not actually alternatives.
Yeah.
See, what you can do, what we have to recognise is the power of television. We have to recognise it's the cult of personality, and the personality dominates. I'm all in favour of having TV debates because it's the leader who represents the values of the party, and therefore he is exposed, or she's exposed, to actually articulate the policies of the party. That's a very, very good thing indeed. But I do agree with Brendon that there's another layer here which is forgotten. And I've heard many politicians say, what is lacking today? I used to go around knocking on doors and articulating my viewpoint now, that seems to be lost because it's the television that dominates. But that's inevitable, I think.